monsoon-driven winds howled outside as rain poured into the tent. Jay and H desperately tried to prevent their makeshift dwelling from blowing over. The bed mats where their 4 children lay were already soaked, and it felt like the tent could collapse at any moment. The M family had once lived in a small village, but decided to move to a larger city in hopes of taking full advantage of the financial prosperity that seemed to run rampant there. Their spirits that were so high when they left were soon brought so terribly low as they met the truth behind life in the city. Joining the thousands of families living in the misery of a slum was not their intention, but became their reality. Jay was able to gain employment in manual labor, earning 34 pence a day. He was then, in turn, expected to tend to all the household needs from that salary. The stress of this life, working as a daily wage laborer, always in fear of losing work, losing money, losing food, it was too heavy a burden for Jay to carry. He turned to alcohol, in hopes of numbing his pain and easing his stress. As one might expect, it made his life all the more problematic. They soon became unable to pay rent where they were living, and began life in a tent. Pitched beside a road, they lived in constant fear of vehicles that may accidentally veer off the road. They would surely die, and yet this was the safest place for them. Jay was aware that they could only live like this for so long. How many more trucks would go past until one came off the road? It was a sobering thought, one that demanded his action. One night, the family encountered a tempestuous storm. Monsoon-driven winds howled outside as rain poured into the tent. Jay and H desperately tried to prevent their makeshift dwelling from blowing over. The terror-stricken faces of his family and his own internal fears brought Jay to his knees. After the passing of the storm, Jay bowed his head and thanked the Lord for sparing him and his family. He asked Jesus Christ to forgive his sins and began to believe in him from that moment. With a renewed motivation in his heart, Jay picked himself up, dusted himself off, and sought out work that he might once again provide for his family. He eventually entered a job as a rickshaw driver, but still this hardly solved his family's financial difficulties. Making around £2.30 a day, he had to give around half of that just to rent the rickshaw. Nevertheless, he continued in diligence, trusting in God all the while. One day, he was met by a GFA World-supported worker, and the man became greatly inspired by Jay's turnaround from a neglectful alcoholic, abandoning his family's needs, to a hard-working father, tirelessly laboring to provide for his family, and the worker was equally aware of the financial difficulties that they were still enduring as a family. So, when the opportunity came to distribute items from GFA World's Christmas gift catalogue, the GFA World-supported worker arranged for Jay to receive his own rickshaw. Jay was thrilled to receive this gift of freedom and used it to his full potential, waking up early in the morning and getting home late at night to make a true living out of serving others. Finally, peace, safety. Jay worked tirelessly still, although this time not in vain. He was able to use the money he acquired through his rickshaw service to purchase land. Upon this land, he built a house, that his family might at last live in peace, in safety. His family were not the only recipients of the blessings that Jay's job brought. To those who used his service, Jay offered gospel tracts and would share his testimony that others might see the love of Jesus Christ. He used the gift of his rickshaw to share the gift of redemption in Christ.